A man receives life in prison for fatally shooting a man in Hurricane. A driver survives after crashing in the Virgin River Gorge. And the celebration of St. George's 162nd birthday.
You're watching St. George News at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Christy Langenheim. 56-year-old Brian Hill faced his sentencing hearing this past Tuesday in connection to a fatal shooting at a club in Hurricane that resulted in the death of another man. Cody Blowers provides further details on the hearing.
On Tuesday, 56-year-old Brian Edwin Hill appeared before District Judge Jay Winward for sentencing on one count of first-degree murder. The case was filed in connection with an incident reported on August 5th of last year, when Hurricane City police officers were dispatched to a shots-fired call at the Eagles Lodge on East 800 North in Hurricane, shortly after 11 p.m. They arrived to find the victim, 41-year-old Sean Moore, a Hurricane resident, dead from a gunshot wound to the chest. And later, Hill was identified as a shooter by multiple witnesses at the scene. Many of Moore's family members spoke before a packed courtroom on Tuesday, describing the loss that has devastated the large extended family. During the hearing, prosecutor Jerry Jager said this.
I just point out that it's absolutely clear that Sean Moore was a good man. And I actually say was, but it should say is, because as the court has pointed out, if you have faith, which you should have faith, you will know that Sean Moore is still here. As the court knows, our system is an imperfect justice. Perfect justice, we would be able to return Sean. We cannot do that. So all we can ask for is imperfect justice. In doing that, I'm asking the court to sentence the defendant to 15 years to life.
Defense attorney Ryan Stout also addressed the court.
Mr. Hill has elected not to make a statement, but I do want to let the court know of something he said to me some time ago. He said, "I wish I didn't do what I did that night. And I just want to apologize to the family, but there are no words. And I don't want to say anything because nothing I could say would dignify their pain." He has not fought this case in any way. And with that, Your Honor, he's prepared to accept the court sentence.
Judge Winward had this to say prior to rendering his ruling.
Mr. Hill, I would have you turn around, but like you said, you looking at these people wouldn't dignify their pain. Your punishment is going to be dying in prison. And you'll know that your potential ends in prison, whereas Mr. Moore's gets to live on in this life. Based on your conviction, I sentence you to 15 years to life in the Utah State Prison. You're remanded to the prison right now.
First responders are saying that a driver who flew off the road in the Virgin River Gorge is lucky to still be alive. A northern Utah man was commuting to Las Vegas for work when he fell asleep at the wheel on I-15 inside the Virgin River Gorge, which caused his pickup to fly off the interstate. Despite the vehicle flipping, the driver, who is in his late 40s to early 50s, miraculously survived, but his pickup truck was totaled. The truck landed upside down and scattered debris everywhere, and despite the significant head laceration, the driver was surprisingly coherent. As Chief Jeff Hunt said that for what happened, he should have been killed. Charges were filed recently against the man who dug a 2-foot wide and 15-foot deep hole inside the state trust lands near Fort Pierce. Here's Haven Scott with more details on the story.
The Washington County Attorney's Office has filed charges against a Bountiful man for the alleged destruction of an archaeological site near Fort Pierce. Washington County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Daryl Cashin told St. George News that 2 sheriff's deputies and a BLM official observed a man digging a tunnel on state trust lands in November. The location of the site is not being released to the public, state trust land officials said. Second-degree felony charges were recently filed against Eduardo Humberto Seon, 51, from northern Utah. Court documents allege the man dug a 15-foot deep tunnel while prospecting. Prospecting or not, excavation on government property where damages exceed $5,000 could land mineral hunters in prison for 1 to 15 years and fines up to $10,000 in Utah.
Thanks, Haven. And now to Sheldon and Amy to give us a breakdown of what's going on this weekend in St. George.
That's right, so many great events happening this weekend.
You can win a cruise for 2 with the Travel Expo.
Oh man, there's a Travel Expo that's gonna be off the hook. Also, there's a retro skate event going on at the rink.
And while you're at it, go watch Sound of Music.
Sound of Music, St. George Musical Theater, they always put on great shows over there. A full list of weekend events right there on the TGIF listing on stgeorgenews.com. Now back to you in the studio.
Thanks, guys. Also this weekend on Saturday, the 162nd birthday of St. George is being celebrated with free root beer floats and all sorts of goodies. The St. George City Council and staff is inviting everyone to join the festivities at the Social Hall by the Opera House from noon to 2 p.m. St. George Heritage Day honors the city's history, which was incorporated on January 17th in 1862, and showcases the major growth of the city, which has now become the 5th largest city in Utah. So if you don't already have plans this Saturday, go celebrate St. George Heritage Day at the Social Hall. And now to Cannon Seacrest to lay out all the basketball games happening the rest of this week.
Thanks, Christy. We've got some great basketball games to look forward this weekend. Starting tonight with Region 9 girls basketball, the 13-1 Snow Canyon Warriors are playing the 9-6 Hurricane Tigers. The Warriors will be looking to improve to 5-0 in region play, as the Tigers will be trying to break that 500 mark as they currently sit at 2-2 in region. Dixie is headed over to play Desert Hills. The Flyers just suffered their first loss in region to the Warriors earlier this week and are trying to get back on track. The Thunder, on the other hand, are coming off a big win over Crimson Cliffs last week and have been shooting the ball extremely well as of late. And with the last girls game tonight, it's Crimson Cliffs at Pineview, and the Mustangs are looking for their first region win as they go into this one 0-5. But the Panthers aren't that far ahead of the Mustangs, currently sitting just one spot ahead in region with a 1-3 record. Also tonight, we've got both men and women's college basketball as Utah Tech and SUU face off against each other. These two in-state rivals always lead to some great games. The men's team plays at 6:30 tonight up in Cedar City, and the women's team plays at 7 o'clock in St. George. And looking ahead to tomorrow's games in Region 9 boys basketball, Eli Allred and the Desert Hills Thunder will be attempting to pull off a big upset over the dominant center Kyle Lemke and the Dixie Flyers. The Flyers head into this game undefeated in region and hoping to improve on a 2-game win streak as the Thunder look to get above 500. Also tomorrow night, the 3-1 Pineview Panthers play the 3-2 Crimson Cliffs Mustangs. This looks to be a pretty evenly matched game as the Mustangs' tough defense looks to contain Nash Schroeder, who is averaging just over 24 points per game this season. And the last game is Hurricane at Snow Canyon, and it should be a fun couple of days packed with lots of basketball. And you can tune into these games on the Fan Sports Network. Now back to you, Christy.
Thank you for watching St. George News at 5. I'm Christy Langenheim with St. George News, your #1 source for local news.
This has been St. George News at 5.